Hello, 7th grade. Today we're going to be talking about how to graph some functions. And just as a quick review, I went ahead and wrote down our definition of function from the last time we did it. And that is that a function is a rule that takes an input and gives an output. So last time we talked about this, we talked a little bit about vending machines and how if you type in one number, you'll get out a soda or whatever you got from the vending machine. So the vending machine is kind of like a idea for our function. All this is math, so we're just using numbers instead of Coke. So that's more fun. We have to do a few definitions before we can really get into the graphing. And the first one is going to be domain. And what the domain is all possible inputs. So on my vending machine, the domain would be anything that I can type into the machine would be the domain, all possible inputs. And my range is going to be all possible outputs. So for my vending machine, the range would be whatever it can give out. So now that we have that down, we can start looking at an example and think about how to graph it. So the first one I want to think of is that we know that the formula for perimeter of a square, if I'm given a square here with a side length s, then my perimeter going all the way around the square, if it's a square all these side lengths are the same, would equal s plus s plus s plus s, which is the same as 4s. So the perimeter of a square is going to be 4 times its side. And this is going to be a function I'm going to graph. So I want to make a function where I input a side length. So I'm going to pick the side length to be my input. And I would like the function to output the perimeter. Output the perimeter right there. So the first thing we want to look at is the domain and range. So the domain is going to be all possible inputs. And we can have a square that's any size we want, but it can't be negative. There's no such thing as a negative side of a square. So I'm going to say that my domain would be all positive numbers. And it's kind of easy to see that my range is going to be also all positive numbers because I cannot have a negative perimeter. That would be silly. So range is also all positive numbers. And that's going to tell me where I need to graph. So I'm going to make a graph. We're going to put our domain is going to have to do with the x-axis because x is going to be my input. And then my range is going to be with the y-axis because my y is the output. So I'll draw a graph real quick. Just like that. This is going to be my x-axis or input. And this is y or output. So I'll just put a few tick marks on here. Awesome. So what we're going to do is that I said the input is going to be the side length of my square. So the function that we're graphing, one more time, is going to be p equals 4s. So right here I want the side length because again that is my input, and for the y-axis I want the perimeter, because that is my output. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a few points that I would like to graph, and there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'll show you how to set up the table. We're just going to make an XY table, and we're going to pick some X points that we're going to put on the graph. It doesn't really matter how we pick them. I like small numbers the best. I'm going to go with 0, 1, and 2 for X. And if I put that into this right here, sorry, that shouldn't be X and Y. That should be S and P. So if I plug 0 in for S over here, I have P equals 4 times 0. 4 times 0 is going to be 0, so P equals 0. I'm going to try that again for 1, put 1 in here. I have P equals 4 times 1, so P equals 4. And I'll try it one more time for S equals 2. Replace S for 2 right there, and I get P equals 8. The 8 goes right there. So now all I have to do is put points down at 0, 0, 1, 4, and 2, 8. And if I look, these points should be in a straight line. They can draw right there. It should continue forever in this direction because I can use any positive number. I'm just going to put an arrow there saying it keeps going, and no arrow on this side because it does not keep going that way. So the arrow means it keeps going. And that's how we make our graph, which I know is a little bit of a marathon there. Graphing is something that takes a while. But as we do it, we will get better at it. So the key here is to find ways to practice and to do it as much as we can. So I'd like to do one more. We're going to do one where we have C equals 0.3 plus 0.06 P. Awesome. And what this is saying is I need to have a graph, and it's telling me that on eBay it will charge me 30 cents, which is right there, plus 6% of the selling price of my item. So that's 6% of the selling price, and that's how much eBay is going to charge me. So selling price is going to be my input, and my output is going to be how much I'm charged. So again, we're going to look at the domain and range. The domain would be all possible input values. I can make a thing on eBay cost as much as I want, as long as it's a positive amount. So my domain, one more time, is going to be all positive numbers. And my range, I'm not quite sure yet, but it's going to be positive. Maybe it'll be a little bit different than even that. We'll see how or what range of values of money eBay will take for me as we go through the problem. So if I'm looking at this, first thing I want to do is to make my table of inputs and outputs. So my input is P, my output is C. Make a quick table, use my little numbers because they're my favorites. And now I'm going to plug these in. So I plug in 0 for P, I get C equals 0.3 plus 0.6 times 0, which is going to be C equals 0.3 plus 0, or C equals 0.3. So right here I have 0.3, and then I'm going to try P equals 1, and let me change that. 0.06 times 1, 0.3 plus 0.06, which is equal to 0.36. So that's 0.36. And then for P equals 2, I'll do the exact same thing, just replace this one with a 2. 0.06 times 2 is 0.12. 0.3 plus 0.12 is going to be 0.42. So that is 0.42. And now I have 3 points that I can graph. It's going to be a little bit interesting with this one just because of how small these numbers are. So, there we go. This could be 1, 2, 3. And up this way is going to be a little bit different. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. And I'm changing what the size of these are just to make them a little bit easier to see. So if I go to P equals 0, my cost is going to be 0.3. That point is right here. Let me do that in a different color so it shows up a little better. If I have a price of $1, my cost is going to be 36 cents. So $1 is going to go up to 36 cents. And $2 would go up to 42 cents, right about there. And that's going to give me my line. So looking at this, what I need to do next is to double check my range, because I said that I'm not quite sure about it. I know it's going to be positive. But looking at this, because I know this graph starts right here, I can say that my outputs will never be below 0.3. So instead of saying my range is positive, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it's not only positive, but it has to be larger than 0.3, and 0.3 is 30 cents. So my range is larger than 30 cents. My domain is positive numbers, and that right here is my graph. And that's good to go. So graphing something that does take a while, I encourage you to spend a little bit of time on it. It will pay off. And I will see you guys in class.